What if I was to tell you that you could get better results not from necessarily training more, but potentially doing less but better and training more efficiently? The good news is that's exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. Sitting in front of me just now, I've got 3 different programs from 3 different people with 3 different goals. And in this video, I'm going to talk you through the exact changes that I would make if they were a client, allowing them to train more efficiently, move towards their goals, and see better results. Let's get in about it. So here we are, welcome in. I have 3 example programs for you to go through, each a different person with a different goal, and these are actual real examples that people have sent in. So I wanted to keep this as real as possible. I'm going to basically just walk you through each one, what changes I would make, etc. Each one as well gets a little bit more sort of probably complex as we go. This first one is a female, wants to be able to lose fat, get stronger, and just literally run consistently. Then number 2, this is going to be her program. Again, fat loss, strength, and she should sort of mentioned running a faster 5k. She's not sent through any runs. I've got an idea of what she's doing just now, so I'm going to go through this. And then I've saved this one to last because you can see there is a fair bit to this. He actually plays rugby, so that is why that one's a little bit more complex, and I've left that one to last. So, kicking off, example 1, we're going to call this Barbara. I think that's how you spell Barbara, who knows. As you can see here, she is training 3 times a week in the gym. She is doing some swimming, she's got football once a week, she's doing a run, and she's doing a HYROX simulation on top of that. Experience, trained for sort of 4 years, all the gear I had no idea for the first couple, and then obviously fat loss is the main goal and running more consistently. So straight off the bat, what I would say is, number 1, she is training a lot. Like, if you know, look, she's got 3 gym sessions, she's got swimming, football, run, HYROX. So she's doing 7 sessions a week, which is a lot straight off the bat. The other thing that I would say straight off the bat is her goals are fat loss, strength, and running consistently. Now, when it comes to fat loss is going to come 80% plus from nutrition. So it's not going to necessarily start training much. That is going to come from changes in nutrition, ensuring that she's consistently in deficit. And often what I see with people who are trying to lose body fat is that they won't necessarily look at their diet as much as they should, and they'll almost potentially try and train more to burn more calories. So this is a common mistake that I see a lot. And if your goal is fat loss right now, what I would make sure that you're focused on is the calories you're consuming, not worrying about the calories you're burning. Because if you think about burning calories, an hour of swimming, let's say that burns 200-300 calories even. Think about how easy that's going to be to leave the pool and then go and eat. Like, you have a coffee or a cake, or a coffee and a cake, like, you're well above that sort of 300 calories, and all of a sudden that swim is redundant. So we want to be training with the thought process of getting stronger, getting fitter, getting faster, whatever it is, and have that as the goal of the training rather than focusing on burning calories. And as I say, what I see here is almost swimming, football, a run, HYROX, and it might not be the case, but subconsciously it's maybe that, right, I'm trying to do all this stuff to try and lose body fat, whereas actually we'd be better focusing on the calories coming in rather than the calories we're burning. So just going into the actual sort of program, this is just the same thing, just enlarged here, by the way. So what we've got here is 3 days. By the looks of it, we have this is all lower body, this is all upper body, and this is all upper body. So we've got 1 lower body, 2 upper bodies, which, yep, is fair enough, especially given that we're trying to do a run and a HYROX as well. But I would definitely, if you were looking at doing lower, upper, I would definitely change the order so that there's lowers in the middle, and it might just be written like that, but I would definitely look at doing upper body, lower body, upper body. So let's just use a basic example of like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's the way that I would do it if you were following that split. Looking at the exercises, there's a fair amount of sort of compound exercises. Here we've got compound, which is good. And then we've got isolation exercise. So for anyone watching back, compound exercises are ones that are like multi-joint exercises that if you think of like a press up or a bench press or a squat or a deadlift or a shoulder press or a row, you're using more than one joint. So any of them, you're moving more than one joint, whereas an isolation is going to be things like bicep curls, leg extensions, tricep extensions, hamstring curls, where you're just focusing on one muscle. So what we want is to ensure that we're focusing on compound exercises. So this session's really good. But then looking at this, we've got compound, isolation, and then for this last session, there's not actually much in this at all. We've got compound, isolation. Even looking at these sessions, this session we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. exercises in this one, which is pretty good. That's sort of normally around about the amount of exercise that I try and have in per session. And then we've got 6 with a hammer curl here. So that's biceps supersetted with hammer curls, so a couple of bicep exercises in a superset. And then the last one we've got 4. So I'm not 100% sure of the reason behind that. My general preference would be, if we're ever doing sort of supersets, specifically arms, but actually like push-pull, I would generally try and put them into a superset. This is an agonist superset, so it means you're supersetting one muscle with the same muscle group. You're doing bicep curls, your biceps are slightly fatigued, then you're going into hammer curls. Whereas actually what I would generally tend to do for most people is do agonistic supersets, which means you're doing a bicep superset with a tricep exercise, as an example. But just to put together a program that she can now go away and follow Barbara, whoever Barbara is. Here we have it. What I would look at first and foremost is when it comes to swimming, football, running, high rocks, I'm always going to see these as like recreational. It's more exercise rather than training. And the difference between exercise and training is like training, you're going in with a specific goal to get better at something. Exercise is almost like going to a class, as an example, and it's good because you're doing something, but there's not necessarily a goal in place, or you're not looking to sort of progress each and every week. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do this program with 3 days a week plus a run, because she said here, run consistently, and that's obviously a goal. Obviously fat loss is going to come from nutrition, and then strength, I'm going to go through this a little bit here. But program wise, we're going to do 3 days, and rather than doing 2 uppers and 1 lower, we're going to go full body, upper, lower, and we're actually going to do that in the other order. So we're going to do upper body, and we're going to do lower body, and we're going to do full body. So just to go through this upper body first, what I quite like to do is do a push and a pull superset. If your gym, you can't do supersets, then obviously you can't do that, but push and a pull superset would tend to be what I would sort of do. So upper here, I would probably go some sort of push. So what we would do is a lat pull down. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start off with a barbell shoulder press, potentially 3 times 8 to 10 or something. There's a lot, obviously, there's a few places that she's put sets and reps, but apart from that, I'm not sure. So I'm going to assume that 3 sets of 8 to 10 is plenty of volume. We're then into, I'm going to put A1, which basically means that that's going to be a superset with A2. So she's going to do shoulder press straight into A2, which is going to be lat pull down. And then we're going to stick with the same reps. I'm going to go 8 to 10. Then we're going to go into another superset, which is going to be push-pull. But here, what we want to do is have a 90-degree difference. So here she's pressing the overhead, exactly the same with here, it's a pull overhead. And if you've watched the videos previously, RE, the training videos that I've done, you will know that in it, I talk about that sort of 90-90 sort of rule, where within each session and also within the week, we want to be following that 90-90 rule. So that means that barbell shoulder press, the next exercise, we want horizontal press of some sort. So probably, because it's barbell heel, we'll probably do dumbbell. We could even go neutral grip, which essentially means that your palms are facing each other rather than overhand. Reason being, here she's done an overhand grip, so we want to mix that up with a neutral grip. It's also going to be better on the shoulders. We're going to go 10 to 12 reps. And then here we are going to do seated row, because she's got that in it anyway, 3 times 10 to 12. And then to finish, what we're going to do is a cheeky little arm superset. So she already had bicep curls in it. We'll just change the reps just to make it a little bit higher rep, get a nice little pump on. And she's got tricep extensions here. So let's chuck them in here 3 times, exactly same, 12 to 15. That would be that session. Number 1, upper, is done. Session number 2. So because it's lower body, there isn't necessarily going to be like an agonist, and because it's going to be more taxing on the body, generally lower body I wouldn't superset as much. So just looking here, she's got hip thrusts, RDLs, Bulgarians, split squats, sumo squats, superset with calf raises, and then kickbacks. So here I am probably seeing a focus on the posterior chain, glutes, hamstrings, etc. This may be consciously and maybe subconsciously. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start the session with a squat, purely because here there's no real knee flexion exercises, no real sort of quad dominant exercises. There's obviously, they'll get hit in Bulgarians, they'll get hit a little bit in sumo squats, but all of this is fairly posterior dominant, glutes, hamstrings. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a back squat. And let's just, for ease, keep this the same. Rep range, 3 times 10, 3 times 8 to 10. Then we're going to go into B. Looking at this here, we've obviously got upper, lower, and then full body is going to come down here. We'll probably start the full body with RDLs. That's going to be a deadlift variation. So here we want to sort of put in some form of single leg exercise. So I'm going to go Bulgarian split squat because she's already got that there. So that's Bulgarian split squat. I'm going to keep the reps the same here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go B. C, we're going to go for a hamstring curl. What I would do sometimes is superset this, so B1 and B2, but I'm going to leave it. I know the gym potentially might be busy, she might struggle to do that. So B and then C. And just looking what else we've got here, we might then do. So if you think already that's 3 exercises, so really we only need potentially a couple more. Lower body, I'll tend to put a little bit less volume in. So that might be then some form of leg extension, because then we're getting a good knee extension exercise in, 3 times 10 to 12. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do D2, and we're going to go for dumbbell Romanian deadlift. 3 times 10 to 12. So here, this is now a solid session, 15 sets in this session. Obviously not quite as much as upper body, but upper body can cope with it because you're going push-pull. This is going to be a little bit more taxing on the body. And then we're into full body here. So we're going to go RDL to start because she's had this here. We're then going to go into B1, B2. So we're now going to, if you look at this session, she started with an overhead press and or a vertical press and a vertical pull. So this session we're gonna start with the horizontal. So what we're gonna do here, I'm just seeing if she's got any horizontal. She's got obviously dumbbell chest press, 37.5 kilos. That is strong. 37.5 kilos. Impressive. In fact, I'm just gonna keep it the same, because that is gain city right there. I'm going to keep this the same because this is going to be a main exercise in this session. B2, again, we want some form of row. She's already done seated rows this week. So what we're going to, and she's already done dumbbell bench as well, but this is going to be a slightly different grip. So here's neutral grip, dumbbell, I'll put bench just so it's more obvious. So that's going to be still here, down and up, rather than that sort of neutral grip, which is obviously down and up there. So what am I looking for here? A pulling exercise. So she's not actually got all that many pulling exercises here. What we're going to do is change the seated row for a single arm dumbbell row. You can see here, seated row. What we could do is actually look at changing the grip. So single arm dumbbell row. I'm going to keep it like that, but another thing that I would consider is that's neutral grip and this row is also neutral grip. So what I might consider is changing that sort of grip variation so that like potentially this seated row was maybe a wider grip overhand, pulling in here so that our arms are a little bit wider, but that's getting a little bit more complicated. I'm just going to keep it simple for the sake of this video. Push, pull. We've then got, what I would probably do now is looking at this. She has hip thrust, so I'm going to put that in. Well, a little bit higher reps. In fact, we'll make this a little bit more fancy. I'm going to do 1.5 reps. So that means that she's going to go down, she's then going to do a half rep at the bottom, and then she's going to go back up. So that's going to be C. So we've got push-pull, we've got this hinge pattern, we've then got another hinge pattern. So really what we need is some form of quad dominant exercise, and then, so this is actually going to be what's called a giant set. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And all we're going to do is we're going to do 2 sets of each, because obviously we've got 3, 6, 9, 12 sets in each. In this session already. Full body is always going to be a little bit longer just because you're trying to squeeze more in. D1, we are going to go single arm dumbbell shoulder press. We're then going to go into dumbbell lateral raises because she's got them in, 10 to 12. And then we're going to go calf raises because she's done them. I'm just going to put calf raises 3 times 10 to 12 as well. We'll just keep this full bit 10 to 12 to keep it nice and simple, easy to remember. And then we're going to do leg raises 3 times 10 to 12. Be kind to her. 2 to 3, 2 to 3, 2 to 3, 2 to 3. That is that session, over and out. That is that program, over and out. If she was then to add in a run, all I would be literally saying is I would probably start at 20 minutes, and what I would do is I would add 5 minutes every 1 to 2 weeks, depending on, obviously, if I was programming forward, this would be more specific. She'd be giving me feedback in regards to sort of how she found it, etc. But just literally, I know that she said here, run consistently. So we're going to start with 20 minutes. We're going to add 5 minutes every week. And in an ideal world, zone 2 pace. And this might actually mean that to start with, she's got to jog, she's got to walk, she's got to jog, she's got to walk to keep her heart rate down. But over the coming weeks, that's going to improve, that's going to get better. And in, let's say, 8 weeks' time, she's going to be able to run at a very, very slow pace, and gradually that's just going to increase. Upper, lower, full body, run. Done. Barbara, session sorted, mate. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this over, just to streamline it a bit. But here, looking at this program, we have hip thrusts, pull-ups. So this is full body upper lower, as we can see here, full upper lower. For some reason, we've got starting with like, we've got 3 sets, 3 sets, 3 sets. We've then got a superset. We've then got a bit of core here as a superset. We've then got 3 sets, for some reason 4 sets here on the second exercise in leg press. So there's a lot in this session. And then we've got shoulder press, 4 sets of this, which is again a fair bit, assisted pull-ups, bench press, and then we've got 2 supersets to finish. So there is quite a lot in each of these sessions. And I know that this person has been training a little bit longer. So that's one thing that I'm aware of. So that means that they're probably able to handle more training volume in regards to sets, reps, and they're able to do a little bit more. But also potentially intensity might be a little bit harder. They might be training harder just because they're potentially more aware, i.e. how hard they should be training, what they can get away with, etc. Also, we've got the 5k goal here. So straight away, I'm going to start with that actually. Straight away, we want to have one run where we're doing a slow, steady pace, and I'm just going to assume that this person can do, I know they train a little bit more, so this is 3 sessions here. I'm going to say they're going to do 5 sessions a week, so 3 gym and 2 runs. So run 1 is just literally going to be exactly the same. The time might change depending on how far they're running just now or how long they're running for just now. I'm not 100% sure, but this would be very similar in regards to this, and just increasing that distance every single week. We could do it for distance as an example, every 1 to 2 weeks, that is. For this is 20 minutes, but it could also, it might be like, right, 5k, it might then go to 6k to 7k, etc. But to keep it simple, that's going to be 1. And then just to, again, to keep the other run fairly simple as well, we're going to do intervals. And since it's 5k, what we want to do is we want to be able to, this is going to increase our what's called aerobic capacity. So this is going to allow said person, let's go Lucy. Lucy sounds good. So intervals, that would include a bit of a warm-up. So that might be time. You could also do that for K as an example. The more experienced person, I would probably do this. Inexperienced, I'd probably do time, but it doesn't really matter. 5 to 10 minutes. Then, since it's 5k, what we want to be able to do is this session is going to increase aerobic capacity. So that essentially means, if you know, think the way that I explain it to clients is aerobic capacity is your body's ability to run with oxygen, and that's going to form the base. So if you think of a skyscraper, the higher you want to build the skyscraper, the wider the base needs to be, aka the faster you want to run, the wider your aerobic base needs to be. So this is taking care of the base. This is widening the base of the pyramid. This essentially means that you're able to, the way that I explain it as well is, imagine you're driving a car. This is you driving a car at 60 miles an hour, but only, and the better you get at this is you building your ability to drive the car at 60 miles an hour, but only use the fuel it would take for 30, as an example. And then we've got the intervals, which are actually like the actual speed that you're able to run at. So I'm going to say 5 times 1k. Let's now say that might take them 6 minutes to run, let's say. So I'm going to give them 3 minutes rest, which is half of the time that it's taken them to rest. And the goal of this is, over this block, try to bring down average pace of runs. So as an example, if week 1 they do 6 minutes and they manage that for all sort of reps there or thereabouts, we want to be doing it within sort of 10% of the time. But let's say that takes them 6 minutes. Over this block, so over this 6-week block, 8-week block, whatever it is, the goal is to basically bring that down. So try and go 5:57 week 1. Maybe 5:55 week 2, etc. And just gradually bring that down, which doesn't seem like a lot, like a couple of seconds a week. But if you now think, right, over the period of 6 weeks, a couple of seconds a week would be 12 seconds, if my maths is right. So that's running straight off the bat. Obviously, we progress this across the block. So actually, another way of doing it might be like doing week 1, 4 times 1k, week 2, 5 times 1k, week 3, 6 times 1k. Building it up like that. It might be every couple of weeks that we increase. Again, this is going to be very person dependent. This is like where the actual sort of coaching side of things comes in, understanding them a little bit more. But as a ballpark figure and a ballpark idea, I'm just going to give you that just so you've got a sort of an idea. Now, here we've got full body, lower body, upper body, which is good. I like the split. Obviously, and by the way, in this one here, obviously she said strength, so there's always going to be KPIs. So whenever in these sessions, the upper body A series is going to be the one that we want to progress weight every week. In this, exactly the same thing. So back squats is going to be the one that you want to really progress. That's going to be the metric of success, that you're lifting heavier, you're getting more reps, etc. And then in this one, these 3 will be the KPIs, key performance indicators, metrics of success. So there you have that, just so you're aware. Then just looking here, so you could actually do very very similar. Obviously, it's the same split. It's going to be person dependent. They are starting with dumbbell shoulder press. So just to mix this up, we're going to go dumbbell shoulder press. I'm going to go 4 times. Here that says 8 times something. So what we're going to do is we're going to go a little bit heavier here. There's 4 sets. Because this person's a little bit more advanced, we can do something like a 3-second pause in bottom position. As an example, 4 times 3-second pause in the bottom position, and then press up. That could be also what I'm going to do is go neutral grip, purely because most people will press like this. They never really press like this. So that neutral grip is going to be easier in the shoulder. We've got lat pull down. I'm pretty sure this girl can do a pull up. So we're going to go chin up. And the step 1 to the chin up is going to be an isometric hold. So this essentially means that she's going to jump to the top of a pull up. She's going to do 4 sets of, let's say, 5 to 15 second holds in that top position. This is a superset. Again, she doesn't need to superset if she given obviously the gym or whatever. But here we've got 6 to 8, so this is heavy. Then we've got here, and we're holds. And in fact, what you could also do is you could do instead, in fact, let's do this. You could do a negative. So chin up means underhand grip. Chin up negative means that it's still going to be 4 sets, but we're going to take 5 to, let's say, 10 seconds to lower all the way down. So that means she's jumping to the top. She's holding that top position for a second. She's 5 to 10 seconds all the way down to the bottom till her arms are straight. And she's doing 3 to 5 reps of that. Then we're into, again, so we want that 90-90. So here she's actually doing assisted pull-ups. Assisted pull-ups, I'm going to assume that is the machine. This is going to be more beneficial than the machine, in my opinion, because it's teaching your body to hold that position. The machine is good for like strength, but it's not necessarily going to help you get better chin-ups because it's not got the core. You're going to be better with this because it's actually got the movement in it. Just to mix things up a little bit, I'm going to go incline bench because that's generally one that people miss. We're going to go 8 to 10. B2, we are going to go wide grip seated row. So like I mentioned in that first one with old Barbara there, that's going to be wide grip, overhand. And we're also going to pause, let's say 3 sec, pause in top position. So here, the focus of this one, because they're a little bit more advanced, now we're getting slightly more advanced training methods in. So here we're going to stop. So we're going to roll, we're going to pause in this position, and then sort of slowly lower back in. And then tricep, bicep, we're going to keep this in. And we're going to go for standing easy bar, bicep curl. This is going to mean that they can lift heavier in this one because you're going to be able to load up the bar a little bit more. The way the sort of strength curve works, it means that the weight's heaviest in the middle. So essentially, if you think as you curl up, it's heaviest in the middle, and then at the top, it's a little bit easier again. So this means that basically you can load up the bar more than you could with, as an example, dumbbells, and then some sort of single arm tricep variation extension 3 times. I'm going to stay the same just because I like the symmetry. So that's upper. You can see actually that compared to that is a little bit more advanced. Now we've got lower body. So here squats. So if there's squats and deadlifts in the same session, usually I would try and start with deadlifts, but I wouldn't generally put these in the same session. What I would do is I would start the full body with deadlifts rather than having these both in the same session. So what I'm going to do is deadlifts, again, 4 times 6 to 8 to basically match this. Then we're going to go into B, which is going to be, let's go, because again, they're a little bit more advanced, we're going to now superset this. So we're going to go B1, B2. We're going to go a barbell split squat. This is going to be far more challenging weight-wise. We're going to stick 6 to 8 and then actually hamstring curl. We're getting a little bit more volume there. And we're going to go 8 to 10. So you can see here, this is heavier work than the sort of first one. And then leg extension and curl, they've got that. Even in this session, you can see there's 3, 4, 7, 10, 13, 16, 19, 22, 25 sets. Whereas you can see here in this lower body, there's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I think I just said 29. That's over double the work that said person is doing now with their new program. You're welcome. But often what I see with people trying to cram a lot in sessions is that they end up trying to do so much that they can't train with any intensity. So that's just one to be aware of. And then what we're going to do is we're going to end the session. We've already got a single leg, so we don't really need the lunge. We can put that in potentially the full body session. What we're going to do is end this with, we're going to keep the leg extension, but then we're going to give them a bit of what they want. What I try and do with programming is give people what they want, but actually hide what they need. This is the stuff that they need, but actually then what we're going to do is we're going to give them a little bit of what they need. So that might be then C2 abduction machine. So now they're getting a really good pump at the end of the session. They're getting like a good amount of sort of glute work here. But they're also getting the leg extension. They're also getting a good compound lift at the start. They've got this. So 4, 7, 10, 13, 16, 19 sets. So you can see it's more than the first person, but it's not up to where it was in here. And actually with this, I said just adjusting this, 4 times 6 to 8. So full body, B1. We probably want that press. So I'm going to go bench press because they've got that in there. 3 times, we'll go 6 to 8, supersetted with some form of row. So they've done a chin up negative. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to keep the chin up in, but it's going to be neutral grip and do exactly the same thing. And then we're going to go here, we're going to go lunges because they like a lunge. Dumbbell reverse lunge this time rather than the barbell. We've got heavier work here, so we're going to go 3 times 8 to 10, and that's going to be C. So you can see we've got a hinge, we've got a single leg squat pattern, and then what shall we do? In fact, we'll just keep it D1, D2, D3, D4. We'll keep that structure. It's going to keep moving a little bit. We'll actually keep the rep ranges the same. So what we're going to do here is make sure that we've got the other one. So we're going to do dumbbell Z press, which is sitting on the floor. This is going to be really good mobility wise. Forces to keep your back straight, and then we're going to go for a row rather than lateral raises. Because we've got vertical here and we've got vertical here, we're going to go horizontal. So we're going to do dumbbell bent over row. That's going to be easier because they can just use dumbbells rather than having to have a bar. And then we're going to include a little bit of core. So we're going to we'll keep in the Russian twists, and we're going to do that. Yeah, we'll just stick with that 10 to 12. And then here, what we're going to do is we're going to do single leg press. 2 times 3 to 10 to 12. And there we have it. Second session, done. That is that session. Here has transformed into here. 1, 2, 3, run. 2 runs a week. Nailed it. And finally, this is example 3. This is the old rugby player. We're going to call him Norman. Not normal. We're going to call him Norman. He's definitely not normal. That's the fact. But I'm going to speed this one up a little bit because you probably got a good idea from the previous two, already how I would work it. And when it comes to anything performance-based, whether like sport, as an example, the goal is always going to be the sport. So for this person, I know that, yeah, he wants to be able to get stronger, but actually performance rugby-wise is probably more important to him. So here we've obviously got legs, we've got push and rugby on the Tuesday, we've then got a Wednesday pull, we've then got Thursday, and then Saturday potentially an extra session. So here we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4 gym sessions plus potential rugby. Now with this split, he's doing lower body, he's doing push, and then he's doing pull. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. And then obviously upper. But there's nothing necessarily wrong with the push-pull legs split. However, if the goal is rugby performance, number one, there's a lot of volume in here. You can see squats, even 2, 4, 6, 8 sets of here, getting fairly heavy at 2 sets of 4 here. 4 sets, in fact, 5 sets of leg extensions, supersetted with obviously calf raises. So that's another 5 sets. So you can see the sets are adding up very, very quickly. And if rugby performance is the goal, then we don't want to be battering our body. Really, we want to look at the minimum effective dose. And that is, how can I get as much as I can out of these sessions with limited sort of fatigue? When it comes to this, I would imagine that his body is feeling pretty beat up from doing this much volume. And even if you can see now, like the back squats as an example, there's 2, there's 4, there's 6, there's 8. In bench, he's doing the same, almost the same rep range, 2 sets of deadlifts of 10, 4 sets of 8, 3 sets of 3. So even that, if you think that deadlift alone Like, that is almost a full session of deadlift. 2 sets of 10, 4 sets of 8, 3 sets of 3, if you're using a weight that's challenging you. So what I would probably do with this, and I would probably go upper, lower, upper. Because with the legs, push, pull, there's nothing, as I say, necessarily wrong with that split, but it's given you a whole almost week before you hit the same body part again. Now, I know he's potentially doing a second upper body session here. We're potentially getting in bench and deadlift here again, but deadlifting twice a week is going to be very taxing on the body, especially if you're trying to play rugby. That's going to leave your lower back feeling pretty beat up. And again, what I often see is people will often train a lot and do a lot of sets, a lot of reps, but the intensity isn't there. So we want to ensure that we're training with intensity. As an example, if you were to swap this 2 sets of 10, 4 times of 8, 3 sets of 3 for something like 5x5, you're only doing 25 reps there compared to 10, 20, 4 times 8, 32, and then 9. So 32 add 9, 41, 51, 61. If my maths is right, this is 61 deadlifts alone, which is a lot of volume. And then you think about doing that twice a week, potentially not doing as much the second day, but it's just not possible to have enough intensity. Here we have it. I have changed this program to make it more efficient, and actually that we're doing far, far less, but we're able to train with more intensity. Now, what we can't do is focus on everything at once. And the best way to think about it is the best program you're doing is the one that you're not doing. And because here we're progressing across these exercises, you'll see like deadlift is the main exercise in this lower body session, but it's now think of it long term rather than just short term. Here we're trying to fit everything into this one program. Whereas if we can now think about it, right, if you now follow this for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, at the upper end, 8 weeks, probably more like 6 weeks for this person, that means that then on the following block, you can then swap this for squats as an example. And then squats becomes the focus of that phase for the lower body. And it's being able to think about that sort of slightly longer term and just look at the big picture. What I've changed here is some things like I've added in eccentrics. Now, I know here they've talked about a 4-1 tempo. This is a 6-0-1-0 tempo. So this means that the lowering phase, the eccentric of the shoulder press, is going to take 6 seconds. So that's really going to mean that, yes, they're able to lift heavy because it's 5 sets of 5. So obviously 5 is going to be a heavier weight. But this is going to limit it. And this is actually going to force this person to slow down the reps to ensure form's good, to keep their core tight, and it's going to challenge your shoulders in a much different way rather than just sort of pressing as much as they can. The other thing that I might do is add in something like a power exercise to start. So as an example, that might be a push press, that might be 3 sets of 5. And they might use that as like, not a warm-up, but this is getting some power work before going into shoulder press. Exactly the same with chin-ups. We've got the eccentric. We've then added in a little bit more complexity. We've got neutral grip bench, because I know that they don't have sort of much neutral grip in this. We're going to do 1.5 reps here. So you're down half rep at the bottom and then up. We've got Penley row, which is a sort of really good strength exercise. It's exactly the same as a bent over row, but the bar's touching the ground each time you're resting, and then you're sort of really exploding off the floor with it. And then here what I've done is at the end I've put in like some higher rep stuff just for them to be able to get a pump on and still giving them a little bit of what they want in regards to like getting the blood flowing, etc. So we've obviously got that with there. Here we've got this sort of, here is purely shoulders. So we've got lateral raises. We've then got single arm cable trap 3 raise, which is lifting your arm like so. So this is going to be really good. Like shoulder health is going to be prehab exercise. And then rear delt flies is again building the sort of back of the shoulder just for more sort of shoulder health stuff more than anything else. And then exactly the same as I mentioned, we've got lower body. This is potentially a little bit more than I would like to put in, but I know here that if I just give them less and like it's too little, they're going to feel like they're not doing anything. So I've given them a little bit more than I potentially usually would, just to almost like bring them down to my level a little bit and do a little bit less. So we've got deadlifts, 5 sets of 5. And again, like all of this stuff, just a sort of general program that I would give them. This would all be more specific to them if, as an example, they were in the program and I was getting feedback off of them. And also, one of the main things to know is like it builds block on block on block. So here, this would then go to, obviously these are just random sets and reps that I've given them. This would be done so in a strategic fashion, so that then the next block we're building on that, and then we're building on that, and then we're basically progressing as we move forwards. But there we have it. That is This session, I've switched it to 2 uppers and 1 lower, purely because obviously it's going to be more beneficial for rugby. They're doing a lot of lower body stuff through rugby, and we want to be able to recover. I would also potentially add in this as well, exactly the same thing for this person, and they could do that as an example on a Sunday as almost like recovery, and that would literally be it. That would be how I would work that one. We've then got Lucy, said Lucy, with upper lower full body, which is sort of slightly higher volume. And then we've got Barbara here to start with. We've got 3 sessions, upper lower full, getting into running, starting 20 minutes, really focus on like a nice steady pace to start and gradually building from there. So hopefully that's useful. I know that went on a little bit longer than I thought it would, just because I managed to talk a lot. Hopefully it helps. Hopefully it's beneficial. As always, if you would like to get fitter and get into the shape of your life, then make sure to download my 30 ways to do so. That is in the link below. And other than that, I will see you next week. Have a good one.